I'd like to call the meeting to order. I am Tanya Cook, Chairperson of the Metropolitan Utilities District Board of Directors, and I'd like to welcome you all to the committee meetings this morning, July 6th, 2023. This meeting is being live streamed from the boardroom at the M.U.D headquarters building located at 7350 World Communications Drive, and a recording of this meeting will be uploaded to the M.U.D website after the meeting's conclusion. I'd like to invite our Vice President of Safety, Security, and Business Continuity, Shane Hunter, to provide a briefing regarding protocol for all individuals in attendance at the board meeting today in the event of an emergency.
Good morning. Shane Hunter, Vice President of Safety, Security, and Business Continuity. We are in the boardroom here on the first floor at M.U.D headquarters, and most of us came through the normal entrance and exit at the rear of the room. There is an alternate exit here in emergencies here on this side of the room. It should be noted that the nearest first aid kit and fire extinguisher are just in the hallway outside of this door, as well as the nearest AED shortly down the hallway. With the location of that AED in mind, can I have a show of hands who's CPR and AED trained in the room? Thank you. Should there be a medical emergency today, 911 will be contacted by the security desk, will then escort EMS personnel into this space. We don't anticipate severe weather today, but it should be known that the severe weather shelter is in the same hallway through this door. And if we need to evacuate this space for any reason and leave the building, we'll go through that same door on this side of the room, take 2 lefts out the building, and reconvene in the garage for accountability. That concludes the briefing.
Thank you. Roll call.
Howard. Here. Kavanaugh.
Here.
Bagley.
Here.
Cook.
Here.
Friend.
Here.
Sidzik.
Here.
McGowan.
Here.
I would like to advise all those in attendance that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is available on the wall at the back of the boardroom. Construction and Operations Senior Vice President and Chief Operations Officer will now review the proposed capital expenditures. Good morning, Gina.
Good morning. Gina Lengel, Senior Vice President, Chief Operations Officer. Behind tab 5, you'll find our capital expenditures letter. There's only 2 items this month, and I'm only going to cover the first one. So the first item is item number 1. It's on page 1. The design and procurement of a booster pump station for Lakewood West subdivision located at 53rd and Moss Road for $997,280. Approval of this project will approve funding to design and procure the above-ground manufactured pump station. If you look up at the screen, you'll see a map, and again, this pump station is located in that green area. In the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see the booster pump station site. There's Highway 370 that goes through there, and then Moss Road that comes down through there as well. So where the green is where the booster pump site is, and you have seen this map before because we've talked about it when we were talking about getting the land in that area. The district has identified the need to provide a booster pump station to supply the future Lakewood West subdivision. The expected water pressure in this subdivision is below the targets due to the high elevation in this subdivision, in this development. And this whole area has some of the same issues as well. The booster pump station will be a small prefabricated above-ground station, and the picture that's up there kind of gives you an idea what it'll look like when we get that. And then if you can scroll down a little bit, this is what the inside of it looks like. So this booster pump station will be set in that area. We have done testing to make sure that the sound for this will not be an issue for people within the area as well. Early procurement of this booster pump station is needed to accommodate the 12-month lead time of the equipment. The developer is aware that the subdivision water mains will be placed into service before this booster pump station will be placed in service next year, and they're okay with that as well. The land easement, site, and design services for the booster pump station were previously approved in March of 2023 at the Board of Directors meeting. We expect the land to be procured by the time that this fall, sometime before obviously we put this into service. A future authorization will be sent to the Board of Directors for the installation of the pump station. A station bid package will be advertised in 2023. We previously had hired JEO to perform Phase 1, which is the preliminary planning and site work for the design services, and we're recommending that we continue to use them for the design of this and the procurement of the booster pump station as well. So approval of this project will authorize the president to enter into a consulting agreement with JEO to provide detailed design services and assist in purchasing the booster pump station. That's all I have for you today. Do you have any questions?
Don't see any, thank you. Director of Plant Engineering, Adam Gartner, will review the acceptance of contracts and payment of final estimates. Good morning, Adam.
Good morning. Adam Gardner, Interim Director of Plant Engineering. I'll be presenting the finals letter to the board, which is located on tab 6. There are 5 projects on this month's finals letter. All 5 projects are water development projects. 4 of the projects came in under or within a few percent of the contract amount. I will highlight 2 projects on the letter. First item to highlight is item A, to install water mains and R&L carriers located at North 117th Street and State Street. The project had a rather significant cost increase of about 74% and had 2 previously approved change orders. The site is a new service center for a large shipping firm. Customer needed to vacate their existing facility and move into the new center prior to site grading and pavement being complete. Developer requested an early water service to obtain the certificate of occupancy to permit the move. Developer requested and approved the costs associated with these change. The last item I was going to highlight is item E on the finals letter. Project is to install water mains at the new Gretna High School located at South 180th Street and Lincoln Road. The project went well with a small net decrease of about 4% in the final amount. I was highlighting this project just because of the significance to the Gretna Public Schools and Gretna community. Any questions?
Don't see any, thank you, Adam. Vice President of Procurement and Enterprise Services, John Zellers, will now review the bids on materials and contracts.
Good morning. John Zellers, Vice President, Procurement and Enterprise Services. Bids on materials and contracts may be found under tab 7. There are 3 items I'd like to discuss this morning, and the first may be found at the top of page 2. We are requesting approval to enter into agreement with OneNeck to consolidate our current software subscriptions and support for Cisco products from an annual a la carte method to an all-inclusive 5-year enterprise agreement. We currently have approximately a dozen Cisco products that include firewalls, wireless access, and VPN access. Entering into the agreement will avoid annual price increases and in some cases reduce the annual subscription for select products, resulting in an annual approximate savings of $10,000. In January of 2021, OneNeck was awarded through a competitive bidding process a 3-year Cisco SmartNet support contract. As part of the contract, purchases of Cisco-related products and services are made through OneNeck as they are the preferred provider in which Cisco provides them the best pricing for the district's Cisco needs. OneNeck's bid is recommended for approval, in which payments will be made in 5 equal annual installments. The next item may also be found on page 2. We are recommending the rejection of all bids for the headquarters walking and security guard path as they exceed budget. Our facilities management team is working with Human Resources and Security on a different option that will meet the request. The last item may be found at the top of page 3. We are recommending the second low bid for activated carbon. Activated carbon is used in the water treatment process to control natural organic compounds that impact taste, odor, and color of the water. The use is not always required, but when it is, it's important that the product worked well. Our water quality group tested each supplier's product, and Carb Pure Technologies performed the best for controlling the organic compounds. Their bid represents a 25% reduction in price from last year's and is recommended for approval. And that's all I planned on discussing this morning, but would be happy to answer any questions.
Good.
Right.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Masania will now review the proposed main extensions. Morning.
Good morning. Masania, Vice President of Engineering. Behind tab 9 is the mains letter, which includes 1 water and 1 gas main extension for this month. Number 1 listed on the letter is a water main extension for Blue Sage Creek 3 subdivision, which is located near 222nd and Grover Street. It's about a mile north as the crow flies of the Platte West Water Treatment Plant. The impact of this development includes water service and fire protection for 172 residential lots, as well as 3 outlots. The project is located in Subdivision 4. In addition to the project cost to install the water mains in the development, the developer is making additional contributions to Pioneer Mains, to existing mains in Skyline Drive and in 222nd Street. This amount is totaled for $151,992. That's in addition to the cost to install mains in the development. There are no costs to the district for this main extension. The developer has made a request for the district's gas service, and a gas main extension request for approval will be brought to the board in the future following the completion of design and estimates in their application. Number 2 is a gas main extension for Lakewood West subdivision near 54th and Highway 370. This is the same development that'll be served by the Lakewood pump station that Ms. Langle covered earlier. This is a mixed-use development and includes service to 253 single residence lots, 3 multi-residence lots, and 10 commercial lots. This project includes about 1 mile of gas main and is located in Subdivision 7. Based on our revenue credit policy, there are no cost deficiencies for the developer to pay on this project. Both projects are anticipated to be completed later this year. And that's covering the main extensions. And I also plan to provide an informational update on a main extension coming to next month's board meeting, given the large capital cost in that one. Jay, can you pull up the map for the 42-inch West Center Road transmission main? So this is informational only. This is not seeking board approval this month. They'll be coming to the board next month for it, but wanted to provide an update given the significance of this transmission main project. It's a 42-inch transmission main along West Center Road from 204th Street to 210th Street. So on the map you're seeing there, it's that dashed red line. As you know, 204th Street is also Highway 6, so where that Highway 6 symbol is where it's starting. Currently, it's being advertised with bids to open in July with an anticipated August board request for approval. The budgeted amount for this project is $5.5 million, and this is mostly paid by M.U.D through our impact fees that we collect. This is included in our master plan, and this will improve system reliability and resiliency in Zone 2 and feeds into Zone 3. This is the last segment of the West Center transmission main that's been constructed. As development has gone further west along West Center Road, so this is the last piece for that to connect the transmission main systems in the area. And with that, that's all I have to cover, and would be glad to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot. Personnel, Vice President of Human Resources Bonnie Savine will now review employee wage and/or salary increases and ratifications. Morning.
Good morning. Bonnie Savine, Vice President, Human Resources. I'll begin by recapping some employee counts for the end of July last year and this year. At the end of July 2022, June 30th, 2022, there were 833 regular full-time employees and 3 regular part-time employees for a total of 836. To end this June, we had 883 regular full-time employees and 4 regular part-time employees, so 887 regular employees. We also had 10 temporary part-time employees at the end of June. 3 of those are temporary part-time employees in general, and 7 interns. And we also had 19 summer employees at the end of June as well. Ms. Howard asked me to also provide an update about some of our new hires. As a reminder, we hired what I think is possibly a record high last year of 107 new hires in 22. In 2023, so far we have 43 regular new hires. 37 of those are OAC, which is more of our entry-level positions into the OAC ranks as well as into the organization. We also had 6 SPA new hires so far this year, and 10 interns this year. So we're on target to hit close to last year's number, if nothing else.
Bonnie?
Yes.
Excuse me. What's the job of the intern? Where do we place interns, and what's their stay, and what do they gain out of that?
The interns are spread amongst divisions that request and budget for a position. Currently, we have some we have one in legal, we have customer experience and corporate communications. We have some in engineering within both the CAD Tech and the GIS areas, as well as professional engineer interns. And we have some interns in the information technology department right now. But we've certainly had them in other places like water quality in our labs, marketing, human resources. So we have them in a variety of divisions. Their role, they are students, and they are applying for positions that do require some education within the field of study that the position will work. It provides them an opportunity to get some real-world work experience. It provides the district an opportunity to engage with students and see some new ideas or different technology or programs, or what they're learning, what they're teaching within those degree programs within the area. And sometimes it produces a candidate for future job opportunities here at the district.
So they are students?
Yes, they are.
Okay. And then it provides opportunity for job placement. They're not guaranteed a job or told they'll have a job, but they can apply for a job?
That's correct. That's correct, yes. Yep.
Bonnie, is there any partnership opportunities with OPPD that we might share, especially some PE students, professional engineer students that might see both sides of the utilities coin?
I can talk with Mikkel over at OPPD. They do, of course, have some engineering opportunities just like we do. We meet every other month, and so I can have that conversation.
Might be worthwhile. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Just for some clarification, and I really appreciate you handle these students. I mean, here's another task that on top of your regular work, but if I remember correctly, they're between their sophomore and their junior year in college, probably most of them.
The intern positions do typically request or require 1 to 2 years of college experience, college coursework already prior to being eligible. So yes, they are often juniors or seniors. And so they can participate for up to 2 years as an intern here at the district. And we do have a first-year wage as well as a second-year wage. Most often they are here for less than a year, but we do afford that opportunity for them to come back a second year.
How long does the program last in the summer?
The summer program is a little separate from the intern program.
Oh,
so
right.
the summer program, they have to be college bound or just a current college student.
Okay.
They're not necessarily placed in a position that requires any experience in their field of study. And it is typically open from May until the first couple of weeks of September, so just truly during that summer break period.
Right. Okay, well, thank you. That's really helpful to know.
Sure, you're welcome. Okay, a review of jobs actively in various stages of job placement. We have 3 jobs that are routing for requisitions through the approval process at this time. We also have 4 jobs that are posted. They are all external jobs, and Mr. Roberts is displaying those on the screen for you now. We also have 10 jobs that have applications already received. Those are being reviewed, and interviews are underway for some of those. And we have 5 jobs that have 6 selected candidates, and so those folks will be onboarding over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Behind tab 10, you'll find the wage and/or salary increases, and ratifications letter. Human Resources is recommending the Board of Directors approve wage or salary increases for 15 employees this month. We have 8 employees that are in the OAC group. They are receiving wage increases due to promotion. We have 5 OAC employees that are also receiving wage increases because of a natural job progression within their family. And we have 2 OAC employees that have been promoted to SPA positions. Are there any questions on the letter in tab 10? Okay. And then I also have tab 11. The letter behind tab 11 requests the Board of Directors to ratify the salary of Gianna Howard. Following a recruitment process, Ms. Howard was hired as the Manager, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Her salary is within the approved salary range for the grade of the job. In this position, Ms. Howard supports the district's existing initiatives with goals that focus on employee engagement, community involvement, and training. Management recommends the board ratify the salary that is outlined in the letter. Questions?
I have a question. Bonnie, has there ever been, in your memory with M.U.D, this ratification where it's separate, a whole separate letter and a whole separate agenda item like this?
Well, yes. Prior to 2019, the ratifications letter used to be a separate letter.
Okay, all of them.
All of them
But
were.
since I've been here, this is the first one I've seen.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Right. Senior Vice President and General Counsel Mark Mendenhall will now present the Condemnation Authority.
Good morning. Thank you, Mark Mendenhall, Senior Vice President, General Counsel. I have the following 2 agenda items behind tab 12. You will find a recommendation to authorize the district, a recommendation to approve 2 separate resolutions that would authorize the district to pursue eminent domain over 2 separate parcels. So there's 1 letter, but 2 resolutions. Each resolution corresponds with a different piece of property. Both resolutions seek authority to acquire easement, permanent and temporary easement rights. These easements would be utilized for the construction, ongoing maintenance, ongoing operations of large water mains that would be installed. This is approximately 168th and Capehart area. This is a project that is beginning shortly. There's a phase 1 and a phase 2. Both of these acquisitions would support phase 2, which we hope to begin work in later this year. One acquisition is approximately 2.6 acres. One is approximately 4 acres. In terms of the size, the easements vary along the roadway, but we're talking about between 30 and 70 feet in width. I will also mention Mark Willis out of my office has been the point person working with both of the property owners. I'm asking you all to approve the resolutions, but I will say at this point I feel confident that we are not going to file condemnation. One of the 2 property owners, we have essentially a verbal agreement on the terms, and so I expect a signed easement within the next 30 days. The other, I believe we have a meeting of the minds. It's almost a matter of timing with getting the confirmation from the other party's counsel. So I felt I don't want to wait until August, because by August, if negotiations were to somehow unfortunately fall apart, which I don't think they would, but if they were, then we are another 30 days behind trying to file for condemnation. So confident we're not going to need it, but asking your authority nonetheless. Happy to answer any questions that you may have on this. Yes,
Mark, just to review, these projects are as least intrusive as possible, correct, for the landowner?
Yes, I would say so, yeah.
And it's necessary, and when it's completed, the land is put back to essentially the same condition as when it started, and their enjoyment of their property shouldn't be interrupted.
Absolutely. To that point, we've worked with property owners as they've been concerned about, these are folks that farm the properties out there. They've been concerned about the number of hydrants, the location of hydrants. So our engineering folks went back, took pencil to paper, and did a redesign to eliminate certain hydrants. We've agreed to pay for crop damage. Certainly, we're going to restore the property to the condition that it was in prior to construction. And several of these properties have these terraces that they'll utilize for agricultural harvesting. And so we will restore those terraces. We've had conversations with the National Conservation Society to assist if needed. So absolutely, we will be as minimally intrusive, with the understanding, and we are open with these folks that during construction, this will be a bigger haul. Both the water mains that we're talking about are between 36 and 24 inch, so we're open cutting and installing these things. But absolutely, once it's all done, it'll be put back to the best of our ability.
And there's installation of fire hydrants as well?
These are not, I'm looking at Adam here, or Masa, these are not hydrants that you're necessarily connecting a hose for fire protection. These are hydrants for water quality to essentially eliminate and drain water, since these are such large diameter water mains. So yes, there are hydrants there. But I would say minimal number. I think on one piece of property over the course of nearly a mile, I think we've got maybe 4 or 5 of these.
Well, I was looking at maybe a positive impact on their insurance rates if there's fire suppression hydrants put in place where they aren't there now.
That certainly could be. I'm not quite sure how a carrier might look at their property, but yes, that could certainly be a benefit. So,
Mark, excuse me, given what you just said, everything we do, and it's not intrusive and restore it, what issues do those property owners raise? Why do they not want to let us do it?
Development, maybe just frustration or objection to development in general. At least one that I can speak to that I've had several conversations with would prefer that development stay out of his area, that the farm continues to operate for as long as he wants to operate it in the condition that he's in. This is a nuisance. He doesn't want to deal with our phone calls. He's concerned about the inability to harvest certain crops. He's concerned about damage to those terraces, how that's going to impact him. I think just in general, unwillingness, or maybe not unwillingness, concern about change. That's high level how I would describe some of their opinions. And then cost, certainly. They want to make sure that they're getting the right value for the property rights. So, seeing no more questions, I would like to direct your attention to now tab 13. Tab 13 is a request to authorize Mr. Doyle to enter into what's called a subdivision agreement. I'm not sure, Jay, if there is a map, just to give an idea here. So this is, I don't believe, I'll caution you, I don't believe that this is the final plat that has been submitted to the county or the city. I'm just putting this up there as just a representation of where we're speaking and the amount of work that has gone into. So M.U.D Acres 2, this is what it's referred to. This is the site at Blair High Road and State Street that the district owns now, approximately 50 acres, acquired through multiple acquisitions from several property owners. As part of the development process, so in order to build what we've all envisioned there, a second construction center, we have to go through a lot of work, and hats off to John Zellers and his team on pursuing this. So the subdivision agreement is essentially an agreement between the City of Omaha's This is outside the incorporated limits of the city, but within the jurisdiction, the extraterritorial jurisdiction of the city. And so certain platting and permitting city rules do apply. So it's between the district, the city, and a neighboring property owner who retained a parcel that we're referring to as one of the outlots. This agreement addresses various public improvement, construction of public improvements. There's a small circular drive off of State Street that will be part of public right-of-way. There are sewers, sewer interceptor, there's a trail, there are sidewalks, so there's all sorts of public improvements that are constructed within this site. And the subdivision agreement essentially establishes the parties' obligations with respect to those public improvements. When I bring certain agreements to you all, it's not as black and white as to what needs to go to the board and what doesn't, as like an interlocal agreement. Interlocal agreements always need to go to the governing body, and there will be 2 interlocal agreements that you will review. Both of those interlocal agreements will directly address cost sharing for public improvements such as the deceleration or acceleration lanes along the roadways and streetlights or a traffic signal. This is not an interlocal. This is just, I guess, more of a simple agreement, but it does detail certain costs that we were aware of that have been included in the budget for the CC2 project, but those costs are significant. The city has established various per acre costs for sewer interceptor connections, for watershed management, for trail fees. And so the agreement details those fees, and since they are of such a higher number, I felt kind of a belt and suspenders approach. Let's have the board review and approve. So with your approval, we'll certainly work with Mr. Doyle and then the city and the neighboring Hart family, have this signed, and then we will work to bring those interlocals as soon as they're ready. So any questions I can answer on that? One step closer. Thanks very much. Appreciate it. Let me just clarify so there is no confusion. Ms. Langle does mention, Mr. Kavanaugh, that those hydrants can be utilized for fire protection as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any members of the public in attendance today who would like to address the board? Any further comments from the board? If none, this meeting is now concluded. We will reconvene with the regular board meeting in 10 minutes. I would like now to call the meeting to order. I am Tanya Cook, Chairperson of the Metropolitan Utilities District Board of Directors, and I'd like to welcome you all to the regular monthly board meeting this morning, July 6th, 2023. This meeting is being live streamed from the boardroom at M.U.D headquarters building located at 7350 World Communications Drive, and a recording of this meeting will be uploaded to the M.U.D website after the meeting's conclusion. Roll call.
Howard. Here. Kavanaugh.
Here.
Bagley.
Here.
Cook.
Here.
Friend.
Here.
Sidzik.
Here.
McGowan.
Here.
I would like to advise all those in attendance that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is available on the wall in the back of the room. And now for those who wish to participate, we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of minutes for the committee meetings and regular board meetings for June 7th, 2023.
I move for approval.
Do we have a motion? Oh, yes.
A second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Howard.
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Bagley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Sidzik.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Capital expenditures, Director Friend.
Thank you. Item number 5, capital expenditures discussed in committee. I move approval as outlined in the memo from Gina Langle dated June 28th.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Howard.
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Bagley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Sidzik.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Acceptance of contracts and payment of final estimates. Director Friend.
Thank you. Also discussed in committee. I move approval as outlined in the memo from Adam Gartner dated June 22nd.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for the great presentation, Mr. Gardner.
All right. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Howard.
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Bagley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Sidzik.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Bids on materials and contracts.
Item number 7, also discussed in committee. I move approval as outlined in the memo from Sherry Lightfoot dated June 23rd.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Howard.
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Bagley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Sidzik.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Okay. Notice of purchases between $25,000 and $50,000. Director Friend.
Notice of purchases directly placed on file, please.
Right. Main extensions. Director Friend.
Thank you. Also discussed in committee. I move approval as outlined in the memo from Masa Nia dated June 29th.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Howard.
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Bagley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Sidzik.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Okay. Wage and/or salary increases and ratifications. Director Begley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move for approval of the wage and/or salary increases and ratifications as discussed in committee this morning and outlined in Ms. Savine's memo dated June 29, 2023.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Howard.
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Bagley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Sidzik.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Vote. Agenda item 11, salary recommendation for Manager of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Director Begley.
I move for approval of the salary ratification for the Manager of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion as discussed in committee this morning and outlined in Ms. Savine's memo dated June 29, 2023.
Second.
Discussion?
I'm not going to change my vote. I'm going to vote no, and I want to reiterate this has nothing to do with the person in the position. I don't know who the person is. I've never met this person. I want to say that the goals are legitimate and laudable, but I've maintained that this position is not necessary and a waste of ratepayer money. I would rather a position go to OAC than have another SPA position.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Howard?
Yes.
Kavanaugh?
No.
Bagley?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Friend?
No.
Sidzik?
Yes.
McGowan?
Yes.
Condemnation Authority, Director Kavanaugh.
This item was discussed in committee, and the district is asking for the authority to acquire permanent and temporary easements in an area near 168th and Capehart Road in Sarpy County. Discussions are ongoing, and I move that we grant the district the authority to use condemnation if necessary.
Okay.
Second?
All right. Any discussion? Roll call.
Howard?
Yes.
Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Bagley?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Friend?
Yes.
Sidzik?
Yes.
McGowan?
Yes.
Subdivision Agreement, M.U.D. Acres, Director Kavanaugh.
This item was also discussed in committee, subdivision agreement, M.U.D. Acres 2. The agreement includes obligations to fund public improvements. It's best that we grant authorization to grant the to approve the interlocal cooperation agreement. Sorry.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Howard?
Yes.
Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Bagley?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Friend?
Yes.
Sidzik?
Yes.
McGowan?
Yes.
Other matters of district business for discussion.
I want to extend our best wishes to the 2 injured M.U.D. employees that suffered their injuries on a job site. Hopefully they're progressing well and in good spirits and come to work soon.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
Are they, what's the status? Is the one person out of the hospital?
Say it on the microphone.
Well, with the sensitive nature of the conditions, I would just say that we expect both to return to work very soon, and we're excited and certainly will convey the board's wishes to them. So thank you.
Great. Thank you. All right.
Good morning. Mark Myers, Senior Vice President, Chief Financial Officer. I wanted to give just a brief update on the status of the decision around insuring the vehicle fleet. We talked about this at the June board meeting as part of the renewal of the other policies. At that time, we didn't have a quote on coverage for the vehicles, and Aon was continuing to search for alternative insurance coverage for those vehicles. So then, at management's request, the board granted the president authority to execute a policy as long as it contained at least the same amount of coverage and a premium that was no more than 25% higher than the expiring premium. Aon didn't identify any other traditional auto insurance carriers who were interested in providing a quote, but they did receive one quote from Lexington Insurance Company for an inland marine insurance policy that would cover physical damage for the vehicles. However, the terms of that policy were less favorable than the existing auto coverage. They had a higher deductible and included a loss limit that wasn't included in the other previous policy. And in addition, the quoted premium was significantly higher than what we had previously paid. It was about $154,000 annually compared to about $46,000 annually. So as a result of that, management has elected to self-insure the vehicles at this time. And I sent a memo to the board on June 28th that outlined some of the factors that we considered in making that decision. We looked at the district's loss history and claims that were filed against the previous auto policies, the distribution of vehicles across several locations, and the impact of a significant loss at any one location, and then other measures that we've taken to help mitigate the risk of a significant loss of damage to the fleet. So we'll evaluate that again next year when we go through the renewal process, and if there are other alternatives that come available to us at that time, we'll make a recommendation then.
Do you have to set aside a certain amount of money in order to qualify to be self-insured, like an escrow account of some kind?
Nothing formally, but on the other areas where we do self-insure, we do set up a reserve for those, and we'll likely do the same here for an estimate of amounts of potential losses. It would be based on historical claims. That's how we do it with the others. We look back at a 5-year average of claims that have been self-insured or paid and set up a reserve to establish something for that.
Okay, thanks.
Mark, that's one of my questions. Where else are we self-insured, M.U.D. self-insured besides vehicles?
We have self-insurance for public liability claims, workers' compensation claims. Those are other areas. And within auto, this policy only covered physical damage from storms and that type of thing, but any collisions or third-party liabilities, that we've typically self-insured as well.
And construction equipment is insured separately?
Correct. Anything like excavators, backhoes, there's a separate insurance policy called a contractor's equipment policy that covers that equipment. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further comments from board directors? All right, public comment. Any members of the public care to present or speak to the board?
Chairperson Cook, not a member of the public, but under other matters, if I could, and I certainly don't want to put anybody on the spot here, although I'm looking at her. Mark Mendenhall, General Counsel. Many of you may know, many of you don't. I just wanted to let you all know so that there are no surprises at potentially even the August meeting, but Ms. Mancuso has indicated her intention to retire from the district at the end of this year. And we certainly are excited for her as she moves on to that post-district career of hers. She has been working with me, so she's been involved in the recruitment process. So we're actively recruiting for her replacement. My intention or my goal would be to bring someone into the role in August, hopefully, so that there could be several months of overlap as you can draw up the job description for what Mary does, but then each day can bring something new. And it is important, in my opinion, that we have someone that can work closely with Mary for a few months towards the end of the year. So I just wanted to let you all know behind the scenes that's what's going on, and don't mean to embarrass or talk about Mary publicly, but I thought it was important to let you all know, so thank you.
Well, I hope she has input into the 3 people you're going to hire to take her place.
I know.
And also, there will be a motion on a future meeting not to accept her retirement.
Oh, second, I second that.
Points all well taken, thank you.
All right, we are now going to go into closed session. Do we have wait, I'm rushing. What is it now? You see how important it is? Because it says on this piece of paper that there is. Any members of the public that would have any comments, which is kind of a duplicate of what I just said. All right. How about this? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So seconded.
All right, roll call.
Howard?
Yes.
Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Bagley?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes,
Friend?
Yes.
Sidzig?
Yes.
McGowan?
Yes.
we are adjourned, 9:14.